All right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. We started this podcast as a way to create a central resource of the best financial advisor practice growing tips shared by the most outstanding advisors in the industry, of which our guest today is definitely one. These outstanding financial advisors agree to be on the show and provide a ton of value for free, all in the hopes that our audience might learn from their words. My father was an advisor, and financial advisors are the main clients we serve, so my marketing agency's mission is to help every advisor grow their business in an effort to help the world become more financially secure. Today, we have the rare pleasure of talking with an incredible financial advisor, Sam Kaplowitz. Sam, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Kaplowitz. Thanks for having me on the show, Chris.
Oh,
Um,
my pleasure.
Thank you. I started off working actually in the banking center at Wells Fargo, and I was a banker. So I was working with checking accounts and auto loans and equity lines. And that was my start in the industry. Um, I was there for a few years and I started to get my licenses, and I figured out real early on I didn't want to be managing a bank or the regional manager for a big bank. Working Saturdays was not fun with young kids. So I moved on with my licenses as I moved over to Merrill Lynch. I did some work with high net worth clients on the lending side. So super interesting job. People who were looking to purchase horse properties, wineries, use their assets to get better rates on really unique pieces of property. And there was a point where was I going to continue on with the lending? Was I going to continue on in this private bank track? Or would I move on and maybe start to really create my own business? And so an opportunity opened up about 8 years ago in 2016 for me to be joining the Merrill Lynch essentially trainee program. And that program was interesting because it allowed me to sit inside of a bank branch at Bank of America and get introduced to the top clients in the branch. So it is anything from this client has a few $1 million sitting in a checking account to this client came in and they just sold their business and they have a big check. And really educating them on the other options other than a savings account and a CD. So that was a good opening. From there, I really started to build up a book of business of dedicated clients from making 100 to 200 calls a day of those top clients in the area. And it was a lot of hang-ups, ultimately getting a client who maybe had a $50 account with a 529 college savings plan to dive in further and see if there was something else out there that I could help them with. So it was an interesting track. Ultimately, about a year and a half ago, I determined that I didn't want to be at a big bank anymore. And with young kids, still working on Saturdays was not fun. The long commutes. I joined my partner, Joe, who had since left Merrill Lynch a few years before. And that's where I am now, Breachway Investments. So we're an RIA that runs through Schwab. We're a small boutique firm. We, any given time, have roughly 150, 160 clients. And it's just been a world of difference for me and my family selfishly, but then separately how I can serve my clients.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's an incredible journey there, Sam. So, when you were transitioning, you said that was a year and a half ago. Were you able to bring your clients, some or all of your clients, with you?
Yeah, there was a select few of clients who I brought over with me. It was really, the model at a big bank is having as many clients as possible. So they have certain initiatives where you need to open a certain number of accounts a month, or that could negatively affect your compensation. What was nice was I was able to, with the clients, I was able to solicit, bring over probably a third of those clients. And that was a great culling period for me where, maybe I had clients from 6 years prior who I opened an account for because that was the initiative and they had $1,000 in their account. So now I was able to focus on my higher net worth clients who really were using my advice, the financial planning. Um, and, at the end of the day, it was just phenomenal process to move down to about having 80 clients versus a couple hundred.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned working with high net worth clients. I've heard a number of different kind of definitions. What's your definition of high net worth?
Well, ultimately, when I look at my ideal clients that I serve now that really get the most out of what I offer and Breachway Investment offers, um, clients with a few $1 million and above are getting the best of what we have to offer. Ultimately, um, we look at big picture. So what's nice now, not being at a big bank, we can really tap into those other professionals that we use on the estate side, on the tax planning side, and closely work with those clients, specialists, if they haven't already designated one, to make sure that everything we're doing is, meeting that big triangle, the legal, the tax side, and the financial planning side. Um, so ideally, yes, there are times where client gives a referral and they're just a phenomenal fit. They're a young client who's professional, a business owner, a doctor, and they just have a phenomenal amount of opportunity over a long period of time to build up a balance. So we're not, strict with, someone who comes over and has a couple 100,000. Now I can say, great, that's a good fit. We can develop a plan. And I know I'm jumping around, but essentially, a lot of my clients over time, I've noticed, yes, most of them are more retired, but a lot of them are business owners who know each other, who have, sold a business, veterinarians, which is an interesting niche that I have. Um, One client that I got was a veterinarian, and she sold her practice. From there, uh, she had great success with me over a period of time. Just from that whole process, from the beginning of the valuation of her business to getting the different offers and the appraisals to finally, what do I do now? I've been working my whole life um, as a business owner, and a business owner doesn't just work 20 hours a week. They just been pushing hard for a long period of time. And now what do I do? So maybe moving on to the next steps where we're actually, these serial entrepreneurs where they just can't stop um, building things and then working on those next stages because for them, it's not like, great, I'm done. They want to move on to the next thing.
Hmm. Awesome, awesome. So you mentioned a specific way of finding high net worth clients, and that's actually it sounds like cold calling. We've had a lot of advisors on here who were like, "Oh yeah, I did that all the time in the 80s and 90s." Um, did this recently and it worked?
So the cold calling I did was when I was at the bank. So, yes, it was really recently and it was more warm calling. So no
Hmm.
longer do I currently do that, just to be clear, but that was something that I had access to as an advisor in the bank with Merrill Lynch, where um, I put in the efforts to reach out to those top clients and just talk to them about their goals. Um, and at all points in those conversations, it was just asking about their experience with what they were doing now. And then that would segue
Hmm.
to, great, Sam sounds like a nice guy. But that's not something I'm currently doing. Um,
Um, that sounds like a unique situation, but you probably learned how to, you know, in from a cold place, get the attention of a high net worth uh, client or prospect. And any tips for calling a high net worth client and actually getting them to talk to you?
that's great. So a lot of these conversations, and this transposes to what I'm doing now too, when I have a client who says, hey, my golf buddy, can you just give him a call? He just had a question about what's going on in the markets. He doesn't really have an advisor. So I look at that, even though that is warm because it's a referral. Um,
Mhm.
I just always start out by, using, again, the cliche goals-based approach. So it's not always diving in, great, I have this balance. I want to see how I can grow my account 20% a year, right? Because again, that's not the goal here. The goal here is that we're looking at what are your specific mid and long-term goals for the most part. So just getting to know the clients, asking them about their families. I think that's a big thing. I think if you did a test for me, 90% of the time I could probably name all my clients' kids, where they're going to school, and what youth sports they play. I'm good about that with the clients that I have, just really knowing them. Um, but ultimately, back to the cold call question, diving in and asking them, yes, the American question, where do you work? Tell me about your family. What do you guys enjoy doing? Where do you vacation? Right? Those simplistic elevator questions. And then finally, getting into the financial planning aspect of, again, not earmarking, we need to get this percent every year so you can meet your goals, but what those real important goals are for them. And just like your conversation with me, getting me to talk about myself, really trying to get these clients to open up and talk about themselves. So if I can latch on to something that makes them tick, right? They love playing golf, they love going hiking, they love traveling, then I can latch on to that and with them figure out how we can make sure that they can afford to do these things more, have more time to do these things more when they finally get into retirement.
Mhm. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, listening, I think, is what you're saying there, and, responding to what you hear, asking follow-up questions. It's amazing how well that works. Awesome, awesome. So, you're at the bank, you're working banker's hours, like, they're certainly, um teaching you, and then you go to Merrill Lynch and you're learning lots there. You find a niche with veterinarian clients, it sounds like. And then a year and a half ago, you decide to go independent. What did you learn with your time at the bank and at Merrill Lynch that, is helping you to uh maintain your success or achieve success in the independent RIA space?
Yeah, I have to compliment the Merrill Lynch program was religious in making sure you had regular contact with your clients. So while I had many more clients when I was at the bank, there was a point to reiterate that you're making sure at least monthly or quarterly you're touching base with your most important clients that really need your attention, keeping up the communication. So this is quite obvious for any good advisor, but when there's a situation where you have a client that's hesitant to pick up a phone because they feel like they're asking a silly question, that's where the communication breakdown happens. You want to make sure that your client has a comfort level that something good happens personally or financially or something bad happens, unfortunately, that they're not going to hesitate. And you're going to be one of those first people that they're going to be reaching out to. Um, and I found that a lot of these clients are sharing, again, it's not just financial stuff. It's personal things about what's going on in their lives, whether it's relevant or not for what I do in my job, but they go to me almost like family, right? When they have something unique happening. And it's very important. We're going to tour, colleges this weekend with so and so, great. That's part of the planning process. A lot of these life events are triggering events for money, right? Because things cost
Mhm.
money going to college. Um, Someone's born, someone passes away. Um, I'm really stressed out at work. Maybe it's time to sell the business. Maybe it's time for a career change. I'm sick of these hours. Um, for me, making sure clients are comfortable to share these things with me is what's important in my job. And I definitely was able to learn that through the years that I spent Merrill Lynch and Bank of America, um, really making sure that there's a thorough review process. Um, and the fact that I can say that I don't have any clients who has you turn on their TV and they see something happening in the markets, good or bad, and that they're really uneasy because they feel like they haven't talked to me recently.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, that's good. Being there as a, trusted friend as well. It sounds like, really cements that relationship and keeps the trust and, security, uh, first and foremost. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, that's awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like, you had some there weren't cold calls, there were warm calls, when you were first building your book of business, um, and then a year and a half ago, you joined your now partner, Joe, you said? Are you still I mean, obviously, you're not affiliated with the bank or Merrill Lynch anymore, so they're not giving you warm leads. How are you finding new clients now in the independent world?
So we've tried a few different marketing efforts, but I think the easy answer for me is I have a great relationship with an accountant. I have a great relationship with an attorney. Um, is it consistent referrals? I think the most consistent referrals, if I'm getting a couple referrals from them a year, it's phenomenal. And
Mhm,
and I'm happy to refer to them because I know they're a good extension of me and my practice. Um, but what I'm seeing is that even when I'm not asking, I have a few of my top clients who are business owners, happen to be in the medical field, and they've out of the blue, I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize, and they say, "Hey Sam, so and so gave me your number, and they said it's time for me to talk to you." And then they just start pouring out to me what's going on in their lives, and most of the time it's a good fit. We have the whole process that I've been through with a few of my clients already, where it's a business owner, they're thinking about retiring. They thus far have just kept their head down and have just been grinding away with their business. And now it's time to look at, okay, say we do set a date and we're retiring in 2 years. Let's go through the process. Valuation of the business. When we get paid out for this and we go through this whole process, we pay our taxes. And then finally, what are we going to do next? And um, it's really tough for people who work hard and build up a business to say, great, I sold my business. It's like one of their kids, right? So helping them navigate that process with a really well thought out financial plan. Um, but also, asking them the obvious question, these serial entrepreneurs, so what do you want to do next? You're 55 years old and you just sold your business for $7 million. Um, are you going to spend more time with your kids? Are you going to travel? Um, a lot of the times the answer is, oh, well, I want to do it again and I want to build up something new. And so that's exciting and fun for me.
Is that, the most common response from your business owner clients? They're like, "I'm just gonna get right back in it and build something else."
You know what? It really is. And it amazes me. And, me now feeling like an entrepreneur because I left a big bank and, I'm an independent advisor. You spend many years building up, you learning, dealing with all the different challenges associated with your industry. You have those clients you've had for 10, 11 years in my experience. And plus some of these business owners, they're getting older. They've had same clients for 30, 40 years. And every day for a certain number of years, they've, you know, taken the keys, unlock the door to their business, and they go in the morning and they leave late at night, going in on weekends sometimes, answering emails and calls, like I do on the weekends. And, it's pretty incredible. You know, they have a hard time just shutting it down, right? That's how their mind works, and they want to build something different. And I don't blame them. And this is certain people in this world are built like that, and they want to keep uh, building something. And it's not about the money anymore. You know, a lot of these people, they're going to be fine. We're going to have a great plan in place. They're going to have plenty of money to do all the great things they want to do and spend time with their family and do different giving they want to do. Um, but that's what I've learned a lot over these years, that, a lot of them don't want to just, close the book. They want to, start something new again.
Yeah. I mean, it's the, you retire, then die 6 months later, right? It's like, you gotta just keep going.
Yeah, no,
Sorry, that was
it is. When you stay in motion, you keep moving. And I think for a lot of these people, if they just said, great, I'm going to take a break. I mean, it's one thing, you travel, you spend time with family, but I don't see any of these people just waking up late, not waking up early anymore and just hanging around. That is not their
mhm.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think, serial entrepreneurship is somewhat of a disease or an ailment.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
you can't stop. I'm sure you feel that to some extent as well, now that you're a business owner yourself.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And it's, everyone can think of, you're on a vacation and you don't just turn the phone off. Yeah, I am the spouse, pacing at the beach on the phone with a client who needs to, get something done or needs answers with something, and making sure I follow up with someone. And yeah, I know how to turn it off, and you know, but you need to be there for your clients, and that's I'm there for them.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. So I love that you made the decision to go independent. We have exclusively had independent advisors on this podcast, not because we don't want to interview folks in the big wirehouses, but they're not allowed. They're not allowed to come on the podcast. And I think that's a symptom of a bigger issue. So my question for you is how has going independent impacted your life and career?
Well, I think as I mentioned before, what's nice is the flexibility. So while I have an office that's very close by, and that's where I meet clients and can meet them at their home. If I'm logging on and checking some emails and right at home, it's wonderful. It cuts out the 2 hour commute time 5, 6 days a week. No longer,
Goodness.
getting all buttoned up with a suit and tie, leaving at 6:30 in the morning, coming home at 6:30 at night, just being absolutely exhausted, not having any energy for my family, having young kids. Um,
Yeah.
the best part for me is how, prior, um, I really didn't have time to do things locally in my town. And now I'm the president of my kids' PTA. I've done that for the last few years. That does, take some time. And it's just phenomenal to be able to be in the school and be helping out and making a difference, locally with the 600 kids that are at the elementary school that my kids go to. Um, I'm on different commissions with the local parks and rec, um, helping build out a disc golf park, actually, which is an interesting fact. Um, Over the pandemic, um, I always enjoyed hiking, but a big sport like pickleball that came into play was disc golf. So, if you like to hike and throw a frisbee, well, that was something that I got into over the pandemic when we were isolated.
Mm,
So, I am working on building a disc golf park in town, which feels great. Healthy outdoor activity. And then, various other, things I'm doing that I couldn't do before because I just didn't have the time, coaching for my kids' basketball team. Um, I like to be involved in the community, and that was something I couldn't do just for a time perspective. And then, finally, um, efforts that I can do now as an independent advisor. Um, I can send clients Christmas cards, little things like that, uh, that made it kind of special, where it wasn't a whole arduous process to just send something nice out, wishing someone happy holidays and getting that out there. Um, you know, if you needed to meet a client at their house, needed to meet them at a different location other than the office. There was a whole process, and it was even if you were in a situation where you wanted to send flowers to a client, there was an approval process for that. And
Mm,
while there's a different process in place now, um, the answer is, yes, we can get it done and record it properly, but it's it was a bit of a process working for a big bank to do those simple things.
mhm. Wow. It's, yeah, just that extra 2 hours a day, man, that can make the difference, right?
Yeah.
It's you're not exhausted. I used to drive an hour and 15 minutes each way to my job at NASA, in the business office, and it was like I was just it felt like another job.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fun to listen to podcasts and have that quiet time, right? But you get that back and you can do so many other things. I mean, it's pretty incredible that during lunch I can actually take a lunch break, and if it's a nice day, I can go for a walk with the dog.
Mhm,
Um, Quality of life stuff, where you look back and say, you know what? I mean, count hundreds, thousands of hours I'm getting back now, and it's pretty special too that I have a select amount of clients I'm working with, and there are not certain initiatives placed on me to have to open a certain amount of accounts every month.
mhm.
That's kind of nice too.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So, I think, before COVID, it seemed like a lot of advisors, predominantly met in person with their clients, and now post-COVID, everyone seems to be much more comfortable with a phone call or a Zoom call. Do you meet most of your clients, virtually or in person or a mix thereof, or how does that break down?
It's half and half. Good chunk of my clients during the pandemic, they moved away. They wanted to have more space, right? So the clients in New York City packed into those apartments, in Boston, and they wanted, they didn't want to be squeezed in with other people anymore. So they moved more south, and those clients are over the phone and virtually, like we're doing today. And other clients, it is meeting them in the office locally. Um, I'd say about a third of clients now I'm really meeting in person. Um, or because I've known these clients for so long, it's the hey Sam, come meet me at the house, and having the cup of coffee on their deck while talking about things, and that's what it's become. And um, I feel like a lot of times when you're meeting a client at their house too, it just special because um, they have the home team advantage. They have that comfort. You walk in, you have pictures of their family on the wall. Um, you know, it, for me, I find the most comfortable meetings are actually when I'm meeting a client at their home, as opposed to what it used to be. It was drive to park in a parking lot, you ride the elevator, you go into the office. It's all marble countertops, and you go in and you meet in this hospital lighting like office, and um, it. I definitely, from my own experience, it can be disarming sometimes and not as comfortable. So
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. That also sounds like a major upgrade, being able to meet folks in more pleasant, environments. You mentioned earlier that, your now partner, Joe, convinced you to come work with him. What did he say to convince you this was the right move, which it sounds like it absolutely was? And then any advice for folks, considering partnering with another advisor?
so what's pretty special about Joe is when I started out at Merrill Lynch many years ago, he was one of the first people that I worked with that was a mentor to me. And so as I really started learning this business, he was there and um, taught me a lot of the basics. And then as the basics got more complicated, I could come to him and save myself many hours of work by having the mistakes and, asking him how he does things. And um, the really personal and thoughtful process that he has in managing clients is what I learned and I use as a template now. Um, so for me, it was pretty special when I had Joe as someone I looked up to. I looked at what he did. He ended up leaving for some of these reasons I'm going to talk about. But what a lot of other advisors at, you know, big bank probably do see now is the number of things. Is it, between the growth initiatives, between the, you know, restrictive, when, COVID dissipated and we were told, hey, we need you to, start clocking in again during these specific hours. Um, right. The micromanagement of, even if I wasn't going to be meeting clients that day, I needed to be sitting in a different space with my computer in a different room, which was an hour away versus, just because I, needed to check the box that I checked in.
Mm,
Um,
mhm,
and then again, back to the growth initiatives. I get it. Big banks need to ensure that there's constant growth. So ensuring that a certain number of your clients have checking accounts, have the credit card, have different types of lending facilities, have worked with the trust department, right? So there's a certain point where you say, okay, am I being a real independent advisor by ensuring that a certain percentage of my clients have these products, or is it a strong suggestion? And it was nice to step away from that. You look at those, monthly sales meetings where there's an Excel spreadsheet and there needed to be a certain number of your clients with certain things, or it would affect compensation, right?
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so from there, the stress of making it a real salesy job, to I can just let me just focus on what's important for my clients. And um, it's, for me, the reality is there's, no more Wednesdays, so and so wholesalers bringing lunch. Um, the thought process is that no one would ever make a decision to use a certain mutual fund company because they brought some really good food. Um, but I think some people might have done that, and dropping away from the commission based sales, right? So no more, selling specific products to get a commission, right? So everything is um, fee only. I have a relationship with a client and there's a set fee that's charged yearly for me to have that relationship. And I'm going to do right by them and find the best solutions, all inclusive. Um, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that's conflicting interest. There's no proprietary um, investment management programs that are making my company more money as a result of making that choice for clients, right? So the true conflict of interest it just dissipates when you're an independent advisor. Um, so finally, yes, I've gone down to less than a third of the amount of clients I used to manage. So my ability to have that time back for my young family and to be able to spend time with my kids and not miss any recitals anymore, to be able to uh, you know, pick up the kids from school, drop them off from school. Um, the grass is greener. It's pretty incredible.
Mhm. Wow, that's awesome. Congrats for having the courage to take that plunge, and that's awesome. I hope and anyone out there considering it, takes these words opposite of lightly, heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And what about, working with a partner? How is and any advice to advisors out there thinking about, joining a firm, bringing a junior advisor on, partner advisor?
Yeah, I think it's great. What's nice is that because we have that history, and as I mentioned, I learned so much from Joe in the beginning. Um, we have this relationship where we have the ability to not be in a silo and to bounce ideas off each other to, discuss in the, what's going on in the markets, to talk about the research that we do separately, um, for, specific situations, to have joint client meetings where we need the support of another person, um, to be a resource in that meeting. Um, you know, it's nice that we're still a small boutique firm. So we're not in a situation where we're, sitting with one client around a table with 10 other people. Um, I like the fact that we can stay small to serve a select set of clients and not be in a situation where we are back to having hundreds of clients and constantly having our phone ringing and not having the time and resources for our clients. And confidently say, great, I can get back to a client in a fairly good period of time if I had a meeting. But it is like a marriage, and you need to make sure that you have an ability to communicate and share ideas. And um, in situations where you feel like something can be improved, you can be open and talk about it. Um, and then to also be able to back each other up. If something happened and we were not available, that we know that there's a backup available to make sure that our clients are well taken care of and there's never a lapse in service if something uh, like an emergency happened.
Hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you mentioned previously one of your niches is or niches is veterinarians. Is that still a major niche and any other I'm just gonna say it every way you can say it niches that you focus on?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's funny how that came up. I had one client who was selling her practice and veterinarian doctor, and what's happening in the industry, similar to personal healthcare, is a lot of these big hospitals are purchasing practices. So you have a doctor who has a set number of their dog and cat patients, right? And they're doing the regular care, emergency care, or they have certain specialty care that they offer. And um, one of the big veterinarian, hospitals, comes in and says, "Great, based on this valuation figure, we'd like to offer you this." And they have different compensation packages, whether, you know, we're going to pay you out a set fee, we're going to pay you out over 3 years, you can stay on, it's still on 30%, right? There's all these different variables based on the situation. And that's created an opportunity for these people working 30, 40 years to say, you know what, this has been exhausting. During the pandemic, there's been record high adoptions of animals, right? And people being home with their animals saying, hey, something looks wrong, and they identify it right away, and they're working from home during the pandemic. They can bring them into the, veterinary hospital. So um, that, from the start of the pandemic, going forward was an opportunity. And, one veterinarian I worked with, had a really great relationship with me. They pinged another one of their, friends who did the same thing 30 minutes down the road. And then I ended up having a good chunk of clients who, were in this position. They were veterinarians. They sold their practice, and what do I do now? And then again, as I mentioned, walking them through the whole process. We're here now. We want to retire in X amount of years. Valuation process. What do we do after it? Um, so that's a subset of my clients, which is really super interesting. And I love it because I'm an animal lover. And it's, you know, super interesting that this is what's evolved. And then separately, it's evolved that, other business owners. So um, any type of business owner, really, they have a, medical practice, or they have a other unique type of business, a manufacturing firm, and they go through a similar process. They identify that they're tired or they want to retire, and we, really hold their hand through the process and make sure that they get the best bang for their buck when they sell the business, and work with the legal side and the tax side and make sure that we're just a helping hand when it comes to structuring the best steps to sell your business. And finally, great, you have all this money now. What are we going to do about it? And really, it's not an issue of, oh, they're going to just go and spend it all. Um, but just setting up some guardrails for, what's important for them, and based on what's important for them, right? Their goals, um, what's the likelihood for success? How are we going to be able to accomplish this? And getting them, to identify, and what it has been is, okay, we're not going to just hang around. The clients now, serial business entrepreneur, they want to do something new, and then talking them through, great, how much capital do we want to allocate for that? Based on what we've saved, what makes the most sense. And a lot of these people went into this, starting out having almost nothing, and now they have something, and really being a good resource for them.
Mhm. Awesome. For any of our business owner clients who are considering selling their business, do you have any valuable lessons that you've learned while assisting business owners prepare and or go through the selling process?
Sure. And everyone has their own personal situation, so this doesn't constitute any direct advice for anyone out there. But I think what was a big eye opener was, definitely depending on the state that you're in and the type of business you're selling, um, consider not taking an immediate payout for your business upon the sale, seeing if you can structure the payouts over a period of time to lessen your tax burden, seeing if in some situations it makes sense to hold on to a percentage of your business for a period of time and then selling it at that point. Um, and then finally, a lot of these people are asked to stay on for a period of time while there's a transition for new owners. And I think that's very valuable, because the last thing that someone wants to see when they built up a business for a period of time is they go and sell the business, and then the transition's not appropriate. And then things like service really come down, and the clients that they've served and built up all over those number of years, are getting the same level of service that they provided when they were running the business. So the ability to help with that transition is very powerful. Um, it's exciting when you see a big number, but then you have to remember there are taxes. So
Mm.
that's why I mentioned a little while ago, let's see if we can be a little more selective with how we're getting paid for the sale of the business. It's hard to take a step and a breather and not just say yes to a big number, but you took a long time to build your business, and you need to be very thoughtful about your exit process.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. My second to last question, I know we're coming, towards the end of our time. So you mentioned previously you have, good relationships with CPAs and tax attorneys. How does one, make these relationships, and how does one strengthen these relationships from an advisor's perspective?
So my my answer is not that you try to bribe them with gift baskets or lunches or anything fancy, right? So upon having that first time you get a referral, I think these guys are super busy, and they want to make sure you can be reliable, because just like when I send a referral, I want to make sure that it's an extension of myself. I don't want a client to have a bad experience. Um, that you're super responsive. So the best that I can within in my control, right? Within my control, I'm always going to be on time for a meeting. So within my control, if I get a referral, I'm going to try to respond right away and reach out to that referral, give them all the information I can to obviously determine if it's a good opportunity, and then finally get back to that person who sent me the referral, right? The accountant, um, for example, or the attorney, and let them know, great, I spoke with so and so. Thanks again for your referral. I really appreciate it. Um, it looks like we're in a position where we're going to move forward, and just thank them, right? So to tie them back to let them know that you followed through. And again, this is quite obvious, and you're keeping up the communication. So next time they won't hesitate to think about you. And I'm going to jump right on it, because at that point, maybe they met with the person last week. The person said, great, I want to talk to Sam. I want to be right on top of it. And reach out to them and then follow up and say thank you and just let them know that I'm on top of it for
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Okay, Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me and my audience. You are a delightful wealth of knowledge, and it sounds like you are just getting started, my friend. So we'll be excited to watch your journey from here on out. My final question for you is an open-ended question. You can answer it in any direction that you like, and it sounds like you have a lot of exciting goals and interests and things you focus on. And that question is, what are you working towards?
Wow, that's that's pretty open ended.
This
So general answer is I'm looking to continue to build my book with really great clients, whether it is those young entrepreneurs and that really could use my help and can make such a big impact now by just doing the right couple different things, right? Saving money, putting it in the right buckets, being tax efficient with how they're doing it, being well diversified, um, being able to continue to work with business owners and help them navigate to not make mistakes as they sell their business or continue to build their business. Um, for me, what's nice having stepped away from the big bank is that I don't have any pressure on the type of goals I need to make. And I no longer treat my job as a salesperson, right? Um, I just want to continue to meet really great people who can benefit from my help and just make what I see as just some of the most simple adjustments to what they're doing now. So exponentially, we look ahead 10, 20, 30 years, and they have the ability to do what I enjoy doing, which is spending more time with my family, being able to travel, being able to do hobbies, volunteer locally. Um, so if I can continue to do that, right, there's no specific number of what I need to do in terms of how many new clients I want to meet, but I just want to keep growing my book with those, great type of people.
hmm That's awesome, man. That's and I think everything you've shared today says that you are very much engaged in that. So that'll be exciting to keep watching you on that track. Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. Where can my audience find out more about you?
Great. So you can reach me at Breachway Investments with an S, com, Sam at Breachway Investments with an S at com. And you can reach me 203-927-7644. And feel free to reach out. Always happy to chat with anyone. And Chris, thanks for having me.
It was my pleasure, Sam. Thank you so much for coming on the show. To all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in and keep on growing out there, everybody. See ya.